So we wanted to talk today about an effort that's been going on for a while now to create production reference guides for our Cloud Paks. This effort started as a result of some engagements last year where we struggled to get customers into production and provide them the guidance that they needed to do very simple things in their eyes, where they wanted to take their existing MQ environment and go run it on OpenShift. We had lots of issues when we were there. There were lots of things that we didn't know about our own product. There were lots of things that we couldn't kind of answer for the customer. We couldn't guide them. We couldn't be opinionated in the way that they should use OpenShift, how they should structure their topologies and those types of things. So as a result, Roland kind of formed a team in order to kind of start looking at those things. And MQ has really been kind of the first thing that we were looking at, and it's now kind of spanned out across the Cloud Paks. The foundation of what we've built has really been around automation. So not only addressing the how do I get into production for a single cluster, but addressing the overall automation and providing our customer with guidance on how they should be managing their production environment. And we really kind of settled on a GitOps approach very early on, driven by the OpenShift GitOps operator that is available. So if we were to look at the top here, maybe I'll need to zoom in a little bit, right? So I'm not going to give a kind of a GitOps 101 here, but the idea being that Git contains your desired state managed in the same way as application code would be. So if I needed to make a change to my cluster, I don't log into my UI. I don't issue commands from the command line. I change the state of the application in Git. And then something goes through the process of making the cluster state match to my desired state. There are many tools out there, but obviously we're settled on OpenShift GitOps built on top of Argo CD to allow that to happen. So what you'll see throughout our guides and throughout the demos and things that Roland has given on various talks, if we were to look at, let me back this up to how we would typically do a deployment today, right? So if I was to deploy a portion of a Cloud Pak today, I would typically, as an administrator, issue a set of commands, or I would use the UI to be able to do that. I'd be doing a one-way deployment into my clusters. And then if an upgrade came along or I needed to change state, I would be using the command line of the UI in my different clusters. So imagine that these three environments are different clusters, physical clusters. Maintaining state between them will become an administrator's manual task in order to make that happen. And we think that doing these things manually for your initial cluster as you're learning about how to deploy your application is completely acceptable. But as we move through doing this with Git, we would typically define in our Git repo how we want our things to be deployed into our clusters, and then use something like OpenShift GitOps in order to be able to take that state and make it the current state in the cluster and maintain synchronization between the desired state and the current state. This then allows us to easily be able to scale, right? So we see IBM Cloud has appeared on the left-hand side. If I was then wanting to be able to go out to AWS as a second cluster, then I know what the state of that cluster should be. So OpenShift, it has my applications defined in Git. It could be exactly the same Git repo that is pushing that out there. So minimizing the amount of manual effort that is required allows us to be able to scale. And this is something that a lot of our customers have really struggled with. So we're looking at automation from not only the Cloud Pak perspective, but automation from how I install my cluster, how I install things like storage into my cluster, how I manage upgrades of my cluster. And then on top of that, how we bring the IBM middleware and IBM Cloud Paks into those environments. So how we automate the deployment of our custom resources for the pieces that make up our Cloud Paks. And then also on top of that, how we bring end user applications into this type of framework as well. So there's a kind of a cake that has 3 layers in it, right? We're automating the infrastructure provisioning, we're automating the cluster provisioning, and the middleware kind of shared services layer. And then we're automating the application layer itself as well.